Alright, so in this video I wanted to cover the fountain. So the fountain is the last building you're going to build within the slime village. First off, just because it's one of the last ones you unlock, as well as it really is the last one you're going to want to pour a lot of resources into, just because it takes a lot of resources to really get it just up to skill where you need it to be. So the fountain has two ways you can upgrade it. One, just by doing the building upgrade after you build it here. It unlocks new buff slots, as well as so the first 3 levels, when you upgrade to level 2, you'll get, instead of having 1 temporary buff slot, you'll get a second, and then each of those upgrades as well unlocks a new type of just tiers you can use. So you start being able to use the mountain spring tiers, the blue tiers. Level 2, you get the purple tiers, and level 3, you get these gold tiers. I'll explain what each of these do a bit more in just a minute. But really, so those upgrading the level is definitely something you're going to have to do just to get full capability out of it. Those first 3 levels will unlock the tiers and the temporary buff slots. And then there's currently actually, I believe, 5 levels. 4 and 5, what they do is they increase the maximum faith level you can unlock. So how the faith level works is, in the fountain in general, and this is why you really, just to preface, you really want to wait to invest resources into this. Make sure you have all your talents maxed out. And then what you're going to want to do is make sure you don't use any of your gold tiers. Because what the fountain does is it gives you temporary buffs just based on the tiers you use. The blue tiers will give the lowest just quality of these buffs. The purple will give some slightly better buffs. And then the gold will give the best buffs, with the addition of, once you have your fountain completely maxed out through your faith level, and even when it's not maxed out, it has a chance to give permanent buffs, which that's this permanent buffs just right here, this little symbol. So when you use your golden tiers, you have a chance to get permanent buffs. Now, the permanent buffs, it will vary just depending on what faith level you're at. So realistically, you want to save these golden tiers until the very end when you've maxed out your faith level, or at least gotten it very high. Just because, I mean, when we're talking about getting a permanent buff, it's like a 3%, 3.5% chance when you have that maxed out. So it is a lower percent chance. So every additional percent really helps a lot. So how it works as far as the temporary buff, so what you can do is you can spend your tiers as well as some gold coins in order to get temporary buffs. So I'm going to do a times 10 temporary buff here. And so we'll be able to see it's actually going to pull 10 different buffs, and then you can pick which one you want to select. They have different rarities, so I'm going to just pick the attack speed one here just for kicks. And then you can see I get, for the next 30 minutes, I get an attack speed buff. Now, these temporary buffs are nice, but they're really not the main reason you should be using the fountain. But so if I do another times 10 summon here, just want to demonstrate something real quick, you can do the same times 10 pull, and then it'll give you, you can either decide you want to replace the buff by just clicking the X here, and then picking a new one, or you can just keep the current buff you have. And then it actually automatically levels up your fountain with the faith level, which is nice because, you know, when you're playing with the forge, you have to be very careful about keeping track of when to level up the forge, not wasting any of your ingots. The fountain does automatically level up. The amount of faith experience points you get depends on which kind of tier you're using. The blue gives you 1 experience point, the purple gives you 3, and the gold gives you 5, I believe. So using the gold could allow you to level it up the fastest, but I definitely wouldn't recommend that because gold are the hardest tiers to find. Farming them is kind of difficult. You're really going to only be able to consistently farm them through your crystal vein shop. So make sure you're saving those to the very end. But that's really why it just does take a lot of resources to farm up the fountain. But especially late game when you already have your skill tree, your talents all maxed out, the fountain can be a nice way to just get some additional permanent buffs. But just don't get it super early, just because you're going to have to farm a lot to get these different tiers anyways, because as you can see, like the amount of experience it takes to actually level it up each time, we'll just do it a couple more times here just for kicks. It goes up every time, so you're going to need more and more. So getting it all the way to level 25, it's going to cost you a ton of gold as well as tiers. So don't rush it. Take your time. This is definitely an end game thing, but it can be a neat thing to get as well, just because it can give you some nice permanent buffs. And if you're trying to make a push, especially when you start getting into those purple and even gold, once you've because you're rolling for a permanent buff with the gold ones, but the temporary ones it gives are already pretty nice. But if you ever go to the info slot right here, you can see the grade of the buffs you're going to get depends on which faith level you're at. So, and this will vary for each different tier. So your blue tier will have a different level versus your purple and your golden tier. The golden tier is the only one that can actually get these legendary permanent buffs. And so that's why, again, you're saving those. But even your blue and purple tier, as you progress, as you upgrade this, using more of these buffs, you'll be able to get even better buffs. So it is definitely a scalable thing, but you're going to want to wait, just because it's going to take a lot of resources, and you're better off investing those in other ways you can get permanent bonuses. But thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.